Nobody beats Talking Joe, an international podcast.
Brand new.
Hey, we're talking brand new Joe. Hey, we're on a brand new show. Deep dives, blow by blow. Spotting Uzis and crossbow. Like a buzzbow or pogo. Got ninjas like Don Shadow. Comics are how I spend my dough. We're coming to you in stereo. It's time for Talking Joe. With Mark and Tim, here we go.
Brand new.
Talking Joe is on the air.
Hey, it's me, Mark, and welcome to the G.I. Joe Comics podcast. It's Talking Joe, coming to you live and direct at time of recording. Anyway, so today we are coming to you from the far reaches of the Energon Universe once again. If you are new to Talking Joe, you can find out all about us over at talkingjoe.co.uk. And of course, if you haven't previously liked and subscribed, you're welcome to do that. Like and subscribe. Why not? Today, we are talking about G.I. Joe issue number 11, released just this week gone at time of recording, Wednesday, September the 17th, 2025. Synopsis. The final showdown with Major Blood. It'll be an eye for an eye as Baroness and Cover Girl must complete their mission. But I will not be talking about this issue just by myself. As normal, I will be joined by my co-host, it's the Real American Tim. It's Tim Finn.
Hello, Mark, and hello, viewers and listeners.
So before we delve into the Energon universe fully, I'll just remind listeners and viewers that we have got a Talking Joe Comics podcast Facebook page, which looks a bit like this. We've got 605 super cool cats and kittens out there as members, and so filled with news. We don't tend to focus so much on the news, breaking news on this episode. It is delving deep into the issues themselves, so that is the place to go to see all of the latest stuff. Hot off the press is the December solicits, so we're looking forward to issue number 15 and 16, looking like some very cool covers. Eric Canetti there with another cool cover. Ben Oliver on some of the variants. We've got Spoiler, of course, and Tonsi, what's he called? Tonsi's, forgetting the surname. Something begins with a
Zonic.
Yes, who is very cool.
Tonsi Zonic, who drew, who is Jake Ellis?
That sounds right. And he did some of the Hellboy universe. Lobster, is it called Lobster Johnson? Is it? Yeah. But he's very, very, very cool style to him, and I think very sympathetic to some of the G.I. Joe artists that we're seeing in the Energon universe. So we're not going to do that, look into all of those covers now. Well, we'll look at them when they come out. If you want to see them, head over to the Facebook group.
Where Mark reads and comments on all posts, and I read all posts and very rarely comment, but I do read them.
And friend of the show, Chris McLeod, will, of course, be delving into the latest G.I. Joe news, and I'm sure we'll be talking about those covers later on at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. That's about 2 hours from now. So, Tim, shall we delve into what's been going on all around the Energon universe?
I kind of feel like before, when you said we're coming to you live from the far reaches of the Energon universe, I feel like since you and I are on Earth and Energon universe G.I. Joe takes place on Earth, we are coming to you, listeners, live from the core of the Energon universe. And if we were talking about Transformers or Void Rivals, we would be coming to you from the far reaches of the Energon universe. So semantically, I disagree with you, sir, but you should play that jingle.
All around the skybound world, are you looking for some G.I. Joe? There's Autobots and Decepticons and creatures from the sacred ring. All we need is Energon, sweet Energon. There'll be Energon everywhere. There'll be robots swinging
Aliens killing and Decepticons in the streets. Yeah.
Wouldn't the Autobots be in the streets? Because the Autobots are cars. Anyway.
Do Autobots that turn into cars? Do they take out life insurance or car insurance, Tim? Let's move on.
Is this where we talk about Transformers issue 24?
We will in a second. Yeah, the first one up is a reminder that G.I. Joe, the Deluxe Edition, Book 2 is coming out very soon, September the 24th, which, according to my calculations, is next week.
That full title, Codename G.I. Joe. This is how Skybound differentiates the Larry Hama Real American Hero G.I. Joe, which starts with the word G.I. Joe, and the expanded Energon Universe G.I. Joe. It's Codename G.I. Joe.
Although, we didn't, proof of concept, once we see the first hardcover collecting the first few issues of G.I. Joe, the ongoing series, that may or may not be called Codename G.I. Joe. It might just be called G.I. Joe.
I bet that'll be called Codename G.I. Joe Book 3.
We'll see.
With some hologrammy reflective stamping on the logos there. If you're looking at this image and you're wondering why they look kind of rainbowy, that is a simulated effect there.
Yes, so this will collect Scarlet and Destro with some interesting back matter in the back of the book. So that will be, cool for those people who like a nice hardcover on your shelves. So an interesting book out just this week gone. Transformers issue number 1, Sound Chip edition, as well as Void Rivals issue 1, Sound Chip edition. These are at a higher price point, but it's a bit of a crazy feature. Did you stock any of these in your shop, Tim?
Oh, thank you. But we still have a little bit of like the 10th printing of Transformers 1 and like the 11th printing of Void Rivals 1. So we also didn't need to get these.
Okay, cool.
So what happens? You open the cover and it like plays the theme song.
So like it looks a bit like a blind bag. $19.99 US out the bag, and as you open it, it does that. So as you open it, it will activate a chip that makes a noise that goes. So quite cool.
And then Void Rivals does the same thing.
Yeah, I think so. Same sound effect. There we go.
That's cute. Okay, how about this? If I seem a little grumpy's too strong about this, I'm glad that this wasn't a variant back when the first printing came out, because $20, that seems, no one's forcing anyone to buy it, but it just seems like too much. So now that these two books have each gone to 10 printings, then this can just be a fun, crazy deluxe thing that you get. And hey, I have a Hallmark Galaga ornament, which is about the size of a G.I. Joe figure. When you push the button, it plays 20 seconds of very loud, like 1981 Galaga music and sound effects, as if I'm in a video arcade. And that thing ordinarily would hang on a Christmas tree, and it just sat in our kitchen for several years. So I am not immune to expensive novelty things that make sound.
Very good. I mean, I love a gimmick. I sort of get a little bit of a smile out of this one.
But for those $20 and that one issue, you could get the entire volume 1 with the first 5 or 6 issues and have a couple dollars left over.
True. So what's going on in the Energon universe at the moment? Just recently out was Transformers issue 24. G.I. Joe 11 is out, and just this week gone. And Void Rivals issue 23 is the issue coming out this week coming. So Void Rivals issue 22, the last one out. Lots going on. It feels like, there's been a lot of builds, a lot of more sort of focused character stuff, and the world is kind of, I guess, opening up a little bit in terms of big things happening and big events. Everything is just escalating. And over in particular in the Pythona storyline, where she's arrived at Quintessa in their sort of big flying slug ship thing, they which is flown not with a wheel or anything like that, but with these tendons that are pulled on. One of the royal guards is having a problem with their suit, which was sort of infected in a fight a couple of issues previously, and so they're ripping off this suit, and yeah, sort of they're building out all of these royal guards as kind of unique characters in their own right. So alongside the bigger story of the dueling factions on the Void Rivals planet, and all of that coming to a head in that grand sweep, you've also got this sort of little Pythona storyline bubbling away in the background. Tim,
this other royal guard that is it? Can you go back a page? Is it Gracula? Is that her name?
Gracula, yeah.
Did we know that one of the royal guards was female? Did we know that previously?
I'm not sure. Yeah,
with their armor, it's the men and the women look similar. I'm realizing how sort of clever this is, because it's sort of grumpy proof. No one can get upset at Kirkman for mishandling the character of Pythona, because she has such a tiny amount of storytelling in her history. And so who's to say, she goes to space and she's still doing Cobra Law stuff. And so, it's not like, if Kirkman had like Roadblock as an astronaut, we could say, well, I don't know if Roadblock as a Star Brigade astronaut would really go that far into space, right? Or some Joe who really never was an astronaut. And I never thought of it this way, but the Cobra Law characters mesh really well with the season 3, 1986 post-movie Transformers characters like Hot Rod and Springer.
Cool. So that is what's happening over in Void Rivals in Transformers. It's very much a Transformers focused story at the moment. We're seeing a big confrontation between Optimus Prime and Megatron. So very cool action sequences, lots of big robots fighting each other. But in this latest issue, which is the grand finale for Daniel Warren Johnston's 24-issue writing run, no G.I. Joes to speak of.
But 6 extra pages.
Cool.
Without an increased cover price.
Bargain. And so looking ahead, next issue will be an oversized issue 25, which is the Robert Kirkman and Dan Mora beginning of their run. And there was an interesting quote from Kirkman on a comicbook.com interview. Obviously, a big part of the Energon universe so far has been the integration of the Transformers into a world where G.I. Joe and Cobra are going to war. In our chat with Kirkman, we inquired whether an official crossover event between these two groups was in the works. And the reply was, internally, there is a roadmap of some big confrontation that could eventually happen. It's not something we're in a hurry to get to. The event book has been kind of abused in this industry, and when you have multiple events happening per year, they're not really events anymore. If and when we get into it, it will be very methodically approached, and it will be the biggest thing that's ever happened to the Energon universe. You will feel the ramifications for years afterwards. So it's something we're taking our time building to. I wouldn't expect it anytime soon. So don't expect a big crossover event for a little while in the Transformers universe. And so while we're talking about Kirkman on 25, to reiterate a lot of what we say, he's been saying is how much he's been enjoying what's come so far, and that he's not necessarily trying to reinvent the book too drastically. He's very much wanting to approach it with the same sort of tone that Daniel Warren Johnson had in his writing, although obviously the visual aesthetic will be a little different given how different Dan Mora's work looks to the previous artists.
I think I said this in a previous episode, but in the 2000 aughts, Marvel would do a big event once a year. Like Civil War was a big event, and then like a year or a year and a half later was Secret Invasion. And then a couple years later, Marvel started accelerating things and having 2 or 3 or 4 events a year, and each one was slightly smaller than like Civil War, but still had sort of the like, it's going to be a big deal, and there are lots of tie-ins, and someone's going to die. And I feel like Kirkman is speaking to exactly that kind of publishing plan. And 3 weeks out of the month, I get one of these Energon Universe comics, and I think, okay, who from the other book is going to show up? You know, which G.I. Joe character might be in Transformers, or which Transformers might be in Void Rivals. And this anticipation is delicious. And it's now been going on 2 years since that very first issue of Void Rivals. And then this background question, which Mark just addressed, is, okay, but when's the really big event or crossover or fight going to happen? And, you know, we keep comparing this to how IDW built up its Transformers storyline and its G.I. Joe storyline, and then combined them in a big way, sort of abruptly, and then with a lot of comics. And even though that took a long time before it happened, once it happened, there was a lot to pay attention to. And that is also definitely something that Kirkman is, you know, comparing to.
Yeah, it's going to be slow build and consequential rather than abrupt, let's say. So that's the Energon Universe getting on into G.I. Joe issue 11. This is brought to us from the same team that we've been seeing for the last little while. Writer Joshua Williamson, artist Andrea Milana, colorist Lee Loughridge, letterer Russ Wooton, editor Ben Abernethy, publication design Andres Juarez, and production Ashby, Florence. So next up, we take a look at the things that sit on the front of these books in a thing that we call the gallery.
Let's have a look at the covers in the gallery.
Cover A of G.I. Joe issue 11 is drawn and colored by Tom Riley, and it is bold. I mean bold in its use of color. There's no background. It's just bright red with a little bit of a light red at the bottom. We are close up to Major Blood and the Baroness as they are grappling. He has a big, sharp knife that he's trying to bear down on her skull. He's sort of kneeling on top of her. She's on the ground, and she's got both arms up, trying to hold his arms away. And what's particularly striking about this cover is that there's a strong sense of vertical, right? So the vertical of his leg, the vertical of the knife, even sort of the vertical of sort of his eyes and his jawline. His eye is colored red. And this isn't like when Megatron in the Transformers cartoon, when his eyes glow red for a second because he's evil. This is I don't think Major Blood literally has red eyes. I think this is sort of an added moment of subjective color that he's evil, he's crazy, he's murderous, and the background color is red. Tom Riley, his sense of anatomy is so good. This grimace, this squinty eye on Major Blood's face. I'm so aware of the planes of his face. Down in the bottom, the Baroness is looking desperate. Her teeth are gritted. Her eye is wide open. And here is the exciting tension point on the cover. I'll interrupt myself. Big, bold yellow logo on the top, right? Yellow on red. This is the second Tom Riley G.I. Joe cover we've had with a yellow logo on a big block of red. Okay, there's a knife that's about to plunge into the Baroness's eyeball, and her eye is wide open, and the sort of contact point of the ink of Tom Riley's cover, where the very, very tip of this big knife, this big dagger, is almost actually touching the Baroness's eye, right? There's a cut on her cheek with some blood coming down. Her glasses have been shattered, but she's still wearing them. And I don't know whether Tom Riley is referring to a pre-code motif in comic book covers and interior art that is known as injury to eye or not. But let's take a look at two examples. So the Comics Code was formed in the 50s, partly to put EC Comics out of business. And it was a self-censorship body that the comics publishers bankrolled so that the government would not step in and create rules for comics. So we're looking at a slide of True Crime Comics issue number 2. This came out in the middle of 1947. And there's a famous panel written and drawn by Jack Cole, where a man's hand with an ice pick is about to plunge the ice pick into a woman's face, particularly her eye. And he's saying, "Yes, Mary Kennedy, you try to square things with the big boss." And she says, "Put the needle down. No." And it's upsetting. So this is an interior panel, right? This is not on the cover. But hey, let's jump ahead a few years and look at the cover to Mr. Mystery issue number 12. This was drawn by Bernard Bailey. This came out in the middle of 1952. And it is covers like this, really violent covers and gruesome covers, right? It wasn't always injury to eye. It was EC's horror covers too, with decapitated heads and ghouls and murder, right? People getting shot by criminals with Tommy guns. It was these covers along with a gay panic, right? Like, were Bruce Wayne and Dick Grayson actually gay? Because there are no women living in that mansion. That led a psychiatrist named Frederick Wortham to write a book called Seduction of the Innocent. This came out in 1954. That book caught the attention of a U.S. Senator, Estes Kefauver, and he helped organize a Senate subcommittee on juvenile delinquency. There was a concern in the 50s that comic books were rotting kids' brains and making them like truant. They were going to be late for school, and they were going to beat each other up, and they were going to steal things, and they were going to be vandals, and they were going to be morally bankrupt because comics were vulgar and vile and dumb and crude and cheaply drawn and cheaply published. Wortham testified at that Senate subcommittee hearing. Okay, anyway.
And it's beyond just the example that you've got there. There's some other modern examples we can point to, such as the governor brutally being de-eyeballed by Michonne in the pages of Walking Dead, or historical context like King Lear by Shakespeare, that has a character having his eye removed on stage and possibly taking out a grape and throwing it into the audience, even potentially in some productions. And this is a wide trope, and looking at the website TV Tropes, they call it the eye scream. And they've got a number of different examples in there that we could all look at. And in terms of modern media, another example, Tim, that people might recognize is from Mission Impossible 2, where Tom Cruise almost gets a knife to the eye.
I haven't seen this one. I've seen 8 out of 10 Mission Impossible movies. Geez, I'm just realizing now, in the moment, Mark, you and I forgot G.I. Joe's most famous injury to eye motif, which is Zartan assassinating Serpentor at the peak of the Cobra Civil War by shooting an arrow from his archery bow from a distance while Serpentor is quoting Shakespeare.
I think you're right. Yeah. He was alluding to the Norman invasion. Anyway, yes, cover. So this cover, just to call out as well, this cover by Tom Riley is also featured as the main front cover to G.I. Joe trade paperback volume 2, subtitled Blood's Revenge. There's also a retailer exclusive version of that collection featuring the cover to issue number 7 with Night Force.
I think you mean direct market exclusive, not retailer exclusive.
Okay, right, yes. Yeah.
So any store that has a Lunar account can order this B cover,
I meant,
but it's not any one store.
I meant a store exclusive rather than, yeah. And here we go. He's in the chat, Matthew Matson. Here is his recreation of this particular cover with the classified figures of Major Blood and the Baroness. Nice one, Matthew. So, cover B.
Cover B is drawn and colored by Andrea Milana. This is the other savage man versus woman fight happening in this same issue at the same time. It's Cover Girl versus Raptor. This also has a really strong sense of vertical. Look at the lines in Cover Girl's pants, many of which are really straight up and down lines, not slightly diagonal. There's some speed lines in the whoosh of her pants under his jaw and in the bottom of her boot. She looks a little beaten up here. She's got bandages on her hands and wrists and forearms and shoulder. She's not in her full costume. She's not wearing a jacket. She's just got a shirt. Raptor, this fight is happening sort of mid-air, right? It's not like they're not on the ground. There is no sort of discernible like window or building ledge or rooftop behind them, or sort of just behind Raptor. And the background itself it is a very similar red. Actually, there's a little bit of purple in it. It's a very similar red to the A cover, but the shapes in it to me sort of say like sunset clouds that have been stretched in Photoshop to create a dramatic effect, and also sort of lava lamp abstraction. And Mark, what are you seeing in this background? Because it doesn't to me say like Paris.
I think it's giving us like a mood. Red is sort of like danger, action, and it's also got these kind of blurrings for it. Like it's suggesting that kineticism, like maybe the camera is sort of like swooshing up, and we're getting that blur with the action. But yeah, a nice, it's a real pop of color that sort of makes it jump out.
Now, as a grumpy comic book reader and also a comic book store owner, I always want any one issue of a comic to have a very different cover than the issue before and the issue after, so that if I put them face out on a shelf next to each other, or if I overlap them and fan them, someone can really tell that one object is a different issue than another object. And what happens with a lot of, I know I pick on Batman all the time, but it's true, right? Like, got 4 issues of Absolute Batman, various printings next to each other, and it's like dark cover with Batman, dark cover with Batman, dark cover with Batman, dark cover with Batman, and a little bit of red. And it's like, and anyway, so funny story, Tuesday night, putting out the new books, and I said to my manager, hey, where are the B covers of G.I. Joe? And he said, I handed them to you. And I said, no, I've only got the A cover here. I thought we got some of the B cover too. And it turned out the stack that I was holding was in fact the A cover with the B cover at the bottom. And the sort of top right edge of it looked the same. And I chuckled. And so I will remind myself that grumpy rule about issues in a sequence would also go for variant covers. I do like it when an A cover and a B cover are very different from each other, and very different from each other in colors. So don't get them mixed up. But I'm not going to ding Skybound for this one, because it's still just a sharp looking book, and there are so many excellent art direction decisions with Skybound covers.
And we do get a cover recreation from Matthew for this one as well. So it's the classified recreation with Cover Girl kicking the actually comic accurate Raptor, because the look is very, very similar. So another nice recreation there, Matthew, and please do seek him out on Instagram.
Cover C is the 1:10 ratio variant drawn and colored by Alan Qua. This is the 5th, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, in a sequence of connecting covers where we are looking straight down at the top of a desk, and a character who is spotlighted in each issue gets sort of a prime photograph that's just lying on this desk or table, along with other accoutrements, like in this case, a coffee mug, a manila folder, a belt with some bullets in it, bit of a map, another photo. This one, so the main photo here is Raptor in his costume with his crazy backpack, wing, flying contraption. And within the photo, it sort of looks like he's standing behind a fire, and maybe it's sort of raining sideways, or the photo itself is kind of weathered and damaged. And then on top of it is a smaller photo, just sort of a headshot of Raptor looking straight on. And this is a really fun. Have we talked about the cover to G.I. Joe 26, Marvel G.I. Joe 26 as a comparison? Because I suddenly realized. Okay, good. Because this is doing the same thing, right? We're looking at a table or a desk, and there's photos and clippings and manila folders and such. Cover D is drawn by Lucas Meyer and colored by Adriano Lucas. And this has an explosion in the background, which reminds us of the Hector Garrido package art paintings from the 80s for the Hasbro G.I. Joe action figures. And the character here is Raptor in his comics configuration based on the classified toy. I don't know if I quite picked up that he's got these sort of red stripes down his torso, sort of like suspender tattoos. And he does have those sort of Wolverine claw Storm Shadow version 2 from 1988 accessories. This one is a 1:25 ratio variant. And then lastly, cover E is drawn by Aka or AKA. And this is the 1:50. It's the Baroness, and she's in her G.I. Joe uniform. And behind her are two bloodhounds who are rappelling from a helicopter. And then in front of her, between the camera and her, is another bloodhound. We can see the back of his helmet, his shoulders, a weapon in his hand. He's sort of holding it like you'd hold a shotgun. She's got two pistols. The background colors are pretty sort of pastel, like a pale cream with some like green in it. Do the bloodhounds have brown helmets? These ones are sort of reading as like maroon red. For a second, I thought this was that sort of modern Viper who's got like a red helmet and a blue vest, but I realized from the context that's not a Viper and definitely one of Major Blood's gang.
Hey, so Aka, aka, is a comic artist and illustrator based in mainland China. Aka, aka, is a self-taught artist whose learning path started in high school and has continued to passionately develop her skill set in pursuit of her career as an artist. After graduating from university, Aka worked in gaming and illustrative art. She got her first job in the comic industry in 2022 as cover artist for Marvel's Captain Marvel, and has done lots of Marvel since. She's represented by Kirby's Comic Art Shop, who are selling the original pencils for this particular cover, which in terms of pencils without the digital colours on the top looks somewhat pared back, doesn't it, Tim? And when I initially looked at this, I thought that it was probably Gene Ha, but it's not. But I think very stylistically similar to my eye, anyway.
Yeah, I can see that in the color treatment. The face was saying to me, artist from Japan or Korea or China. And there is a retailer variant cover.
We've got two retailer variants. The first one from 616 Comics, Tiago da Silva, who's done a few retailer variants now. It's got a connecting variant set, which has got Hound undamaged with one side and damaged on the other side. And so combining to make one single image. And then we have one more. Oh, crikey, Tim. What have we got here?
Why are there so many covers of Baroness?
This is from Night of Comics, Katya Sinyukahina, let's say. It's a NYCC exclusive, available from their booth 1534. There's also a digital pre-sale which launched on the 17th of September, with 25% of the print run available online and the rest via partners and on the NYCC floor. And the artist, let's just call her Katya, is making her first NYCC appearance where she'll be signing these.
We should point out, you and I are streaming and recording this episode in late-ish September. New York Comic Con isn't until early middle October. So you can't get this cover yet if you're going to get it at New York Comic Con. For those of you listening, white background, sexy Baroness, a little bit sort of teasy. She's looking off to the side, but sort of the twist of her spine and her shoulders up and her big eyes and pouty lips. Says this is a little bit of a model pose and a little bit less of a mercenary, war criminal, real American hero pose. So yes, a good drawing and a good representation of the character, but I would prefer a little less, model tease, like I know something you don't, I'm so sexy, and a little bit more like, okay, I got to take down Major Blood or Cobra or anyway.
Yeah, and she did share a video of the process drawing this particular cover as well, which in today's world of AI drawings, it's always quite just heartening to be able to see a process and know that we don't have to worry that it is a entirely AI generated image or augmented. Yeah.
I don't know if any publishers have formal rules concerning the use of AI. I have heard informally that Skybound is not interested in using cover art that uses AI, but it is also possible that if an artist turns in a cover and no one calls it out and no one guesses and no one asks, then it runs. So, this is a moving target if this stuff gets published or not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think given the impact that AI is having and how powerful it is and prolific it is becoming, I think pretty much all publishers having to rapidly come up with AI policies if they didn't have one previously. Let's move on to G.I. Joe issue 11 proper, and let's get on with a plot briefing.
Plot breakdown.
At Mars Industries, Clutch and Risk have run into Mercer and a squad of Vipers, but a giant Autobot robot known as Hound is stood behind them. The Vipers open fire, but Hound K2Os their asses. The Vipers open fire, but they don't hurt Hound. He realizes that they contain Energon. The Joes grab some of the guns and they make an escape. Returning to the pit, Risk helps keep Clutch and Hound secret from Duke. Meanwhile, under the streets of Paris, BLUDD and Baroness are knife fighting. Revenge will be mine, he says, preempting the collected trade paperback edition's subtitle. Baroness gets the best of him and stabs him in his remaining eye, leaving him blind. Meanwhile, above ground, Cover Girl saves Baroness's parents from Raptor. At Cobra headquarters, Destro is threatened by a blast from Cobra Commander's repulsor glove. He explains that there is a war on the horizon of flesh and metal, and he believes metal will win, and his experiments are to find a means of becoming one with the metal. Destro offers to find volunteers for his experiments. Finally, At the pit, Hawk tells the Night Force team that they can stand down. They don't need to help with the Baroness in Paris after all, but they have another mission in Darklonia to break out Shooter from prison as their next recruit. There we go. So, Tim, last time we were left on a cliffhanger with a gang of Vipers and a giant metal robot with glowing eyes stood over the top of them. Did this issue deliver on the promise that page gave us?
Yes, I wanted to see Hound swat some Vipers. I wanted to see Mercer lose but not die. I wanted Clutch and Risk to get away. I wanted Hound to be okay. All those things happened. Two striking things about this scene. You had it. Yeah, there you go. The sound effect, folks. The sound of Hound backslapping with a swat of his arm a Viper is smack crash. And then he does it again with his other arm. And then he grabs one of the Energon rifles from a Viper and sort of squeezes it, breaks it, and holds it up in a wordless panel. He's hold it up over his head. And what comes out of it is sort of a liquid, a glowing blue liquid. Mm-hmm. And he drinks it. And then he says, sort of wiping his chin, because some of the Energon
juice
liquid got on his face. He says, "This Energon is not pure. Someone has diluted it, corrupted it." And I thought of all the different ways we have seen, I mean, there are like 3 Transformers consume Energon over the years. We have seen Autobots kind of eat it, like when it's in like small cubes and chips, like kind of drink it when it's like in a cube. But the animated series was kind of vague about that. I think in the IDW comic, we've seen some Transformers at a bar, like Macadam's old oil house. And, they're like ordering beverages at, with like cups and mugs. And I can't think of any examples, but I know we've seen, Transformers now and then like plugged in, as if the way that you charge your, vacuum cleaner or your phone. But this is a little bit new, that it's not just a liquid that Hound can drink, but that he grabs this rifle and squeezes it and breaks it, and the juice like drips out of it, and he's holding it up over his mouth, which I think speaks to how sort of low powered, how desperate he is. But it just makes for really evocative 3 panels.
Yeah. And initially, I guess as all of those Vipers were opening fire, I was thinking, these are not just any guns, these are Energon guns. These are going to have a bit of a nasty effect on Hound. Whereas it seems like it doesn't have any effect. We're not seeing any damage from these guns, and possibly he's almost absorbing them. There's possibly a hint of that. He says, "Clutch, these weapons are powered by Energon." As they're shooting, he makes that sort of realization. So yeah, these Energon guns don't look to have an impact on Transformers, I guess.
I didn't think that Joshua Williamson was going to kill Hound in this issue, but
you never know.
In the time it takes me to finish this sentence, Daniel Warren Johnson has killed 3 more Transformers over in the pages of Transformers. Even though his run is over, it just keeps happening. And I'm not sure, that Hound is definitely going to survive. So I was worried that at the end of last issue, he was so outnumbered by Vipers with these weapons. And I'm pleased that the sort of power imbalance is slightly balanced again. So with these weapons, Cobra outpowers Joe. But I think we've established that some Cobra weapons are now Energon powered, but not all of them. And this giant alien metal man is still more powerful than these 10, terrorists with grenades and laser rifles. It also creates a plot point where Mercer can get back to Destro and Cobra Commander and say, our weapons aren't powerful enough. What are we going to do? And so, then Cobra Commander can say, like, Destro, we have to find another source, or we have to take one of these robots and dissect him, or, whatever it is.
Yeah, and I was going to say as well that I think possibly that last panel on the first page there, where all of the Vipers are opening up, and zap 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 zap. There's a lot of zaps there as they fire at Hound. I think it's in part meant to make us think back to the last time we saw a similar situation, which was, of course, with Rock and Roll, where he definitely didn't have the same outcome in terms of it not having an impact, because so I think that page turn is almost like, well, the last time we saw the Cobras, the Vipers open up with their Energon weapons with all those zaps, and we had our hero being shot at in silhouettes. That was the end of them. So it was a surprise for me with that page turn that for Hound, that it didn't have any impact at all.
That was a bummer. I remember you and I were texting back and forth because we were gonna be talking about this issue, and what was it? You had a preview, but it didn't have every page, and I had the comic, and it's like, you're like, what happens in the final? Mark's like, what happens in the final 3 pages? And I was like, I can take pictures and text them to you, and I did it one at a time so that because sometimes if someone sends you 3 pictures, you see the third one first.
Yeah. So the original preview that Skybound shared with us had redacted last few pages, and until I got to issue number 2, even when I saw number 2, I was still in a little bit of disbelief. But I was like, yeah, maybe there'll be a page 1, issue 2, showing that actually the Energon blast didn't have quite the impact on Rock and Roll that we might have feared. But all is well with Hound.
I've got a little art pick on page 5 of this new issue of G.I. Joe, issue 11.
Okay.
In the first panel, 2, 3, 4, and in the fourth panel, Hound transforms. Some artists during the IDW run, I think every artist either applied the Autobot and Decepticon sigils digitally after they had drawn their artwork, or they let the color artist do it. And 4 out of 5 times, the color artist would do a good job. Sometimes it was a little bit too big, or a little bit off center, or a little bit out of perspective.
Actually, I think I've seen from Andrea Milana's art, where he does share his processes online, that I think the Autobot sigil is applied in his digital art prior to being handed across to the colorist. So this is from not this issue, but from a previous issue where the original art, which is all digital, let's remember, was shared by Andrea Milana, that Autobot sigil was there, but you can see it's very perfect. That I don't think that's not hand drawn from scratch. That is going to be making use of an existing asset to create that.
And as a comparison, that preview image you showed earlier from next month's Transformers issue 25 with Optimus Prime, drawn by Dan Mora, the 2 Autobot symbols on his shoulders look hand-drawn, although it actually looks like the same Autobot symbol sort of copied and pasted onto each one, which is fine. I prefer artists to draw them by hand, because when I was drawing amazing fan fiction Transformers comics in high school, I had to draw them by hand, and it's not easy. If you're going to do it digitally, you got to get it perfect. And I feel like page 5, panel 1, it's too big, it's a little bit crooked, and it's not illuminated the way that actual like green plate of Jeep is, because of the glow of the headlight. And then it happens again in panel 4 under the screech sound effect, where there's this like red dot that reads like a hole in the page. And I know this is a nitpicky thing, but as I've told you, listeners, I read my comics up close and frowning. And Skybound gets so many things right, and I want them to get everything right. Here's something I do like about this page. It's really funny in the 2 panels near the bottom of the page. Wordless, Clutch and Risk are getting away. Risk is sort of loosening his tie because he just got in a fight that he wasn't expecting with an alien, and now he's riding in the back of the alien, which is a Jeep. And Clutch turns back and says, "Don't tell Duke." And Risk looks at him and hasn't reacted yet. And this I'm going to come back to this later in the episode when we talk about the end of the issue. But this is a funny moment, and it's nice that this book can go from action to drama to funny. And then the final panel here on page 5 has a really important plot point, which is that Mercer, we see him alive, although he is in shadow, so maybe he's injured and has a scar. Who knows? Probably not. We see him alive. He sees the good guys get away. He now knows that there's another alien robot or giant robot, and he says it changed, just like Starscream. And so one of the things that I'm interested in comics like this is the writer tracking who knows what, right? Like, which of the Joes know about Transformers? Which of the Joes know about Hound? Which of the Joes know that, like Hawk has another team? And I had sort of forgotten which Cobras knew about Starscream, sort of in a very general sense, that Cobra Commander has a Megatron connection. Actually, remind me, Mark.
So,
Destro knows about Starscream. Duke knows about Starscream.
Yeah. So Mercer was sent to this, like maybe mental institution or something, where one of the survivors of that Mars team that had encountered Starscream, the sole survivor, the artist, and he'd drawn, a mural, let's call it, of Starscream on the wall, I believe. And Mercer was asked to take him out with extreme prejudice. Right.
That's the team that had been in 2 issues of Transformers.
Exactly.
That had rescued the injured Starscream. Okay.
So Mercer, I think, got the story from that guy before then, murdering him so that no one else could find out what he knew. So I think that's the connection, that they found out more about that Starscream story from that guy, and that's how he knows. More people are knowing about these robots. I
still wonder where the timeline is, because is it like Seattle and Chicago? I've lost track. How many cities have the Decepticons just been stepping on and set fire to over in the pages of Transformers? And I understand, like, I live on one side of the country, and any one month or week there may be big events, fires, earthquakes, floods in other parts of America. And, watching the news, reading the news, I'm aware of it, and I might react to it or do something about it. But much of the day I go back, to my own schedule. So I guess realistically, I don't expect the Joes to sort of drop everything and call Hawk and say, "What about Seattle? What about Chicago? Was it just Seattle? What about those alien robots?" And Beachhead did allude to them back in issue, was it 7? But I do wonder still, what is this timeline? Because if who's gonna go stop the robots? Optimus Prime is. All right, so then we move on to
beneath the streets of Paris, where Major Blood has come down into the knife fighting death pit with Baroness, while Cover Girl has gone away to try and save her parents that the Blood has instructed Raptor to kill if he doesn't hear back from him, essentially. So they're getting down and dirty with their knife fighting. Tim, what did you make of this action sequence?
I thought this page, the next page are great poses and page layouts. I'm still a little sad that Jordi Belair is not coloring this arc, because her colors are so much fun, and Lee Loughridge's colors are great, but they're not a little crazy, and I wouldn't describe them as fun. I would describe them as muted and illustrative. It's like they're in a sewer, he's got armor, she's got a blouse. But there's like during these 2 pages, it's not like the final, it's not like that last panel on this next page, where the knife is getting close to Baroness's face. It's not like the background is red. It's not like everything in the panel is red, or everything in the panel is red except for the Baroness's eyes and teeth and the knife that are yellow, right? Like this is not Lee Loughridge's style, and it has never been, right? Tons and tons of Vertigo books, Gotham Central, the Image books, Dark Horse books, Marvel books, DC books. It's not fair of me to expect a style shift, and I wouldn't ask a colorist who's been doing this longer than Jordie Bellaire to make his stuff look like Jordie Bellaire. But at the same time, I got really used to how this book looked for the Duke miniseries and the first arc. And so I like this color a lot. I'm also excited about the next arc when Jordie Bellaire comes back. I'm still a little thrown off by Baroness sort of begging for her parents' life. And I think Williamson is trying to humanize her, or is humanizing her. It still feels off to me, like this is some kind of fate with an E, not an A.
And yeah, so on this particular page, Baroness is taking a slice at her after she's insulted his poetry, and let's point out here that he is licking that bloodied knife. If we want any sort of reminder that what a complete and utter psycho Blood is here, and I think it's this bottom right hand panel on this particular page is the one that gets us close to that cover image of Blood and Baroness on the front cover with that knife almost to the eye, and I think the cover doing what covers need to do, which is to kind of draw out a key moment or sort of theme or feeling from the issue without being necessarily slavish to what is actually happening on the inside, that they don't have to be in the exact same pose on the front cover. In the issue itself, maybe they're not in their uniforms. If it's on the cover, stick them in their uniforms anyway, because it's more interesting sort of pop to a cover image than just her having being in her sort of purple blouse or what have you. And then sort of skipping scenes in Paris, Raptor is on the top of a building looking over at Baroness's parents, as CoverGirl has used her women's sense of direction to find him and come up from that manhole cover. And, cleverly sort of we're positioning it here that we see him on the top of the roof, kind of looking down onto the other side of the building and the road beyond, rather than the one that CoverGirl has come out from. So she's able to come out of this one and take him by surprise from behind.
I just want to say, this is not a page you would. I mean, Milana draws digitally, right? So there is not an original to buy that looks like this. There may be some sketch on a scrap of paper. I don't think this is the page that someone would buy if all these pages were original art on board. But look at how much work this page is doing, right? It's dramatic like a splash, even though it's only technically like a half splash, but it's such an unusual shape for a half splash. The second and third panels are slightly offset, and then the third panel, the camera actually like moves in like 6 feet and is now right up at that manhole and manhole cover, and the perspective looking up at the building has now changed. And yet tracking from the bottom of the first panel with the manhole cover to the second panel to the third panel feels really sort of smooth and consistent. Loughridge does a really nice job of separating the building, which is sort of illuminated from below. That comes from Milana's inking. But this building is like warm. It's sort of beige, peach. And then the sky and the building off to the right in the background are, gray, purple, but like the clouds, are menacing. You see the birds both as black ink on white and also white ink on black. You see some of Raptor, but as you said, that's actually his back. He's looking away from us. But then you also see people walking, and a few of them repeat from the first panel to the second panel. So in terms of 3 consecutive moments in time, reestablishing this whole scene for this issue, right? Because we haven't checked back in with this location, this issue, bringing us into CoverGirl's sort of state of mind, right? Because it's Raptor who's far away on this page, and we're with CoverGirl, right? We're on her side. We are emotionally close to her. We know her, not her plan, but what she just accomplished, right? This is a great page that is sort of the least exciting page of the issue because it's not a fight. But in terms of establishing and setting up drama and space, it's so important.
There's also a bend to that building. It's not pure kind of isometric kind of hard lines. It's a lot more organic. Did you call it curvilinear? Is that what?
Yeah. Rather than straight orthogonals, instead of straight diagonal lines that create linear perspective, they curve. Like you're looking through a fisheye. Just
sort of very subtly, sort of. We're definitely in CoverGirl's POV there, sort of looking up from the ground level to Raptor on the roof, and it's a teeny tiny little silhouette of it, and but it's doing so much with just a few lines. It's sort of great when we've got that real sort of economy of lines, sort of accomplishing so much and doing exactly what it needs to do on the page. And then we're ping-ponging between scenes of Baroness in the death pit and Raptor about to launch his attack on Baroness's parents below. He didn't, the radio mic thing, what do you call those? Walkie-talkies is on the floor in the foreground. We can tell that Baroness and Major Blood are fighting there in the background and not able to reach the mic. And so he's doing it. The ultimatum, he's just as he's about to launch off the roof, CoverGirl is there on his back. Not today, Raptor.
Wait, what? Okay, go back. This sound effect, FTSH, is that the sound of his engines powering up?
Maybe, or sort of,
or the birds.
Perhaps them sort of the wings moving into position, ready to
angling up. Okay, all right. So back to CoverGirl jumping.
Yeah, so she's jumped on him and taken him by surprise. She's worked her way up to the top of that building quickly, still at it. Baroness in that ruck with Major Blood in the death pit, and as he's on the ground and she's running at him, he's sort of playing dirty. He's sort of, I think, using his knife to kind of, hack at the floor and spray up some grime from the ground. And she says, it burns. I wasn't quite sure what the dynamics of what was causing that burn. Is it that she's got open wounds and there's something nasty going in it? Bit of a mystery to me, but I'm not going to worry about it too much. Tim, what do you think?
Yeah, this bit of dialogue where she yells, it burns. Well, I appreciate that those letters are in red. That's fun. But yes, I thought, is he grabbing a handful of sand and he just threw it in her eyes? But if you were in a fight, she's saying that for our benefit because, sorry, the art's not clear. And if you were the Baroness in this scene, you would just say, You wouldn't say, the sand is in my cuts on my forearms, or the sand got in my eyes, past my glasses, and I am momentarily blind. Ooh, and then blood runs into her. So I do like sort of the action of these 3 panels. I don't like the combination of slightly unclear storytelling and then the sort of overdoing it with dialogue, even though it's just 3 words. But if you look in that second panel where she's running at him, she's running to the radio, and he's got his dagger in his left hand, and his right hand is maybe starting to grab a handful of dirt, sand, grit from the ground. And then when he throws it, this great action and speed lines from Milana. I like the sound effect, TSH exclamation mark. And then there are bits of what sort of look like sand, like whipping into her. And I thought, if this panel was all beige, like if this was a knockout, would it say to me, sand attack? And Lee Loughridge doesn't color that way. But anyway, So yes, these 2 or 3 panels could have been a mite clearer, and the fight and sort of the cross cutting between the 2 fights intensifies on the next page.
And we get a sort of bit of corniness here on the next page as well. Cover Girl left you to die, you know. She's not going to save your parents. You're a war criminal, Baroness, scum of the earth in black leather. Why would she ever help someone like you? You can be Baroness, Tim.
Because she's better than me, thunk. And she knees him in the groin, the groin butt.
She's a Joe is the dramatic.
Oh, right. And then the Baroness says, she's a Joe, grabbing the dagger. So what Williamson is building here with his script and what Milana portrays is that the 2 fights, which are shown in parallel and are each getting sort of more dramatic as they go, they sort of peak here as you, on the bottom of this page, you are worried that Cover Girl is going to crash her and Raptor into the ground, injuring or killing both of them. But Baroness has a knife, and now you turn the page.
And dear listener, viewer, if you have not read this issue yet, this would be a good time to pause, go and read it before coming back, because
the Baroness is a transformer. And she changes into a pink motorcycle. It's a big splash page. It's a left page. It's a right page reveal. She's actually a transformer. She's neither Autobot nor Decepticon. It's a Void Rivals thing. You read the issue and come back and pick up the episode here.
Yes. So this next page reveal is quite the gasp. I think that's probably my reaction to it. It was a bit like, good grief, because Cover Girl is a Joe, and so am I, doing the very G.I. Joe thing of stabbing Major Blood in his one remaining eye, leaving him, blinded in both eyes, and, talking to the, I guess, very visceral human reaction. And I think this phobia, I guess, that we all share of damage to our eyes that we talked about in the tropes that as it appears across all media. Very horrific, I think, scene here, just about as horrific as it gets, really, in terms of what we've seen from G.I. Joe, as Major Blood is stabbed in his remaining eye, tastefully in silhouette, but what a moment.
This comic is rated T for teen, and I thought 3 things immediately when I saw that splash page. One, as you did, I sort of gasped and thought, oh, this is more than G.I. Joe has done before. Because, when Serpentor gets an eye full of Arrow back in the Marvel 70s, it's sort of spread out across 2 panels, and you don't actually see the contact because the way that he's sort of knocked over backwards off his balance, you see the arrow, but you sort of don't see it sticking into his head. And here you do, although it is silhouetted, and sometimes silhouettes make things worse. Think of horror films where, some scary character is like creeping along, and then you see the attack as cast shadows on the wall, or you just hear it and someone screams and you imagine it worse than it actually is. Or if they showed it, maybe they can only do so much with fake blood and prosthetics. I guess I'm talking about an 80s horror film in this fictional example. And then I thought, oh, this is now something new and different for the Energon universe. Just as Cobra Commander in this version of G.I. Joe has a robotic hand that can fire Energon blasts out of his palm, which is not Skybound trying to make some toy variation that Hasbro can run with, although maybe they will, right? I immediately thought, okay, rather than, oh no, I'm so upset for Major Blood, or I'm so happy for the Baroness that she's affirmed and reaffirmed that she's, a good guy now, she's also a Joe, because I think about, toys and brand extensions and variations of characters in this crossover, I just immediately thought, okay, in how many issues is Major Blood going to have some kind of like Cobra or sort of Cybertronian Cobra Law Decepticon prosthetic, like a visor, like who's that Joe? Tracker? Joe, codename Tracker, came with a tiny inflatable thing. No one's favorite Joe. Sorry, folks. Or, like the way that Globulus has the like eyeball thing. And what's her name? The Royal Guard, that panel that you showed earlier in the episode. I couldn't even enjoy this as so horror and drama. I just immediately went to, okay, what's his new accessory? And then I thought Lee Loughridge did the color thing that I'm often rooting for here, which is the background is red, or something big about the page, about the panel, about the shock, the horror, the attack is red. But the way that they're inked, right? Milana is inking, he puts so much of blood in shadow that the light source is from behind them. And so Loughridge gets to both be subjective, right? There is a light source behind them, so the red-orange behind them is brighter than the sort of dull blue-gray of them. But also, objective, but also subjective, because no, the wall behind them is gray because they're in their sewers. It's not like fire. It's not, like a red dramatic light. But for this moment, this is how we feel. This is how they feel.
Yes, and I think as sort of Blood is sort of lying about in pain there on the ground. You witch, I'm blind. I think that's the last we see of him. It ties.
I think the line is, "You bleeping witch, I'm blind." But it's only 5. It's only 5 symbols, so I don't know what curse word it is. Because I'm thinking of FUCKING, and that's 6. Anyway, that's what it is in my mind. You bleeping witch.
So it sort of ties into perhaps what we see in the next scene as well, when we sort of jump to the Cobra headquarters, of that thematic thing of body experimentation combining with metal that Cobra Commander starts to talk about. But the wrap up. Raptor has been taken out, is lying there on the roof. The parents are safe, no idea they were ever in any danger, and none the Wines are. And they're able there to just enjoy the view that was promised on an earlier cover.
Yeah, folks, Mark wrote a whole song about this. Something interesting is happening here where, of the 2 fights, the one between Baroness and Blood is bigger, more important, higher stakes. And the one between Cover Girl and Raptor is great, but it is secondary, right? I mean, don't forget, Cover Girl was initially part of the fight with Major Blood. And so when you turn the page, we don't then get a page and a half of Cover Girl taking out Raptor. We've just skipped to the aftermath. She took him out, and they're back on the roof. So Williamson's having a little bit of fun here, because I guess either they crash landed. No, they didn't crash land into the ground, because no one's the wiser. So she must have sort of diverted him onto a different roof or back onto that roof. Mark just did a loop-to-loop motion with his arm. And what this scene ends with, Cover Girl says, the view, she says, "Your parents are safe. The view here is stunning. You should really join me." And so Williamson ends the scene not on this sort of G.I. Joe victory or this Cobra defeat, but this bonding of these 2 Joes who are, one is a real outsider and one is a little bit of an outsider. Cover Girl because, she's the woman on the team. Baroness because she's an international war criminal, and we keep thinking she's going to betray them and replace her glowing star with a red Cobra symbol.
Yeah, should we skip to them coming back to the pit, perhaps? As this is a nice sort of thematic and story continuation of this bonding moment between the 2 Joes, and keeping Duke entirely in the dark about it as well. It's a theme. Duke is being kept in the dark about 3 things in this issue.
No, I'm actually worried about this. And I besides the sort of jovial bonding of these two Joes coming back from Paris and the sort of humor of Duke, like shrugging his shoulders and like, no one tells me anything. I'm a little, I mean, it'll be fun, but I'm a little worried because this is something that's fundamentally different between the Energon Universe G.I. Joe and the Real American Hero G.I. Joe. In the Real American Hero G.I. Joe, Joes don't keep secrets from each other. They occasionally leave the base without telling Hawk to go rescue a Joe, which is definitely against the rules, although they've done it like 7 times. But what we're seeing here, this is the kind of thing you see in, TV shows, I don't know, something like Arrow, where like everyone, or The Flash. I'm just picking 2 examples that are genre where like everyone is keeping a secret, like Ollie is like, his mom doesn't know that he's a vigilante. His girlfriend doesn't know he's back from the dead. His like bodyguard doesn't know that he was on the island. The villain doesn't know that he knows that the villain's daughter is his girlfriend, his sister, and like in every episode, he's like, Speedy, I will never lie to you. It's like, Ollie, that's a lie. And in the next scene, you're going to lie to her because you're going to have to like leave the party because it's her high school graduation or something. Anyway, so I like this. But also, I'm worried that this will cause problems for the Joes. And I want the Joes to all get along.
And as there's a nice little bonding moment, and the final thing says, "It's been a long time since I had someone I'd call my friend." And then it's like, next time we go on a trip together, I get to pick the location. And perhaps your parents will be in danger. Deal. Oh, by the way, sorry about the whole stabbing you in the back thing. Hardly worth mentioning, but as long as we're sharing, enjoy your broken nose. I'm sure your plastic surgeon will be excited to see it again. Now I'm not sorry for stabbing you. Which gets one of these.
Quote of the week, 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 quote of the week.
Quote of the week.
I just want to point out the 2 tiny coloring errors in these 2 panels. Lee Loughridge has successfully gotten CoverGirl's shirt pink in the previous pages. And then for these 2 pages where she's really, really small, her shirt is green. Boo! I'm definitely writing an email to Skybound about that, and I hope it gets fixed for the trade. This is a fun transition here, which we'll pick up on, I'm sure, a little bit. But instead of just cutting to Hawk wherever he is for his final scene, his final page, he's actually looking at CoverGirl and Baroness through his blinds. And he sees them on this catwalk, which looks kind of like the was the ISB? What was the IEP? What's the Imperial building? The intelligence building in Andor?
Right, that. Yeah.
Anyway,
which I think is an actual building in London, I believe.
An actual building in England.
And
but this is a nice spatial transition because it's not just that we cut to Hawk wherever he is. It's that Hawk sees this and we see Hawk. So we're reminded that as big as the pit is, and hey, going back a few pages, the construction cranes are gone. This, whatever it is this just a crazy gantry elevator 2 pages
I'm
earlier?
Not sure.
I don't know what it is, but it's awesome.
But it's almost like a visual motif for Hawk at this moment, that it's a Venetian blind that's causing all sorts of interesting lighting effects to happen and so on. Him picking through.
Because Hawk's a good guy, but he's a good guy with an agenda.
Let's keep on rolling on forwards, because his agenda is that he's got a secret second team that no one else knows about. He doesn't need Flint's services. He can stand down, but if they ever need it, then they can be called upon. And next up, Darklonia, Craig, Joe D, codename Shooter, which is, we're getting a nice segue into the setup of the next issue. Did we need to say anything about this before?
Just that Larry Hama has a nice anecdote about the character of Shooter, which he told to Mark and I at Joe Fest this past June. which Mark recorded and released as an episode of Talking Joe. Right? Shooter has had just a tiny amount of appearances in G.I. Joe comics, and we have certainly not seen this version of her yet. More in a month, but the general character of Shooter does have a tiny bit of G.I. Joe history, and now an action figure.
Well, while we're at the pits, let's wrap up what's going on here with secret number 3. As Clutch and Risk arrive, what the hell happened to you two? Clutch is looking over to Risk. I don't think they've resolved what's going to be said to Duke, so it's
we definitely didn't get in a fight with an alien.
Yeah. Just grabbed some drinks, got into a little scuffle with some locals at a bar. No big deal. Team building, boss. Gotta loosen up, Duke. Risk is right. Loosen up, Duke. He's like sort of an explosion of relief, I think, in that sentence as well. I don't like that.
Where did you get that Jeep with that weird weapon on the back that doesn't look like any standard issue U.S. military? Is that a shoulder-mounted cannon for an alien robot?
And while
I don't like that.
While we're at it, what's that red logo on your bumper?
No. That one goes back to 1984. We see it, but we don't see it. Remind me, Mark. Duke looks at his gauntlet, his wrist, and he says, "Baroness is late. Is this just a watch, or is this an Energon Universe G.I. Joe?" Okay, so in the current Justice League Unlimited comics from DC, all the Justice League members have membership cards that have like smart chips that let them like teleport up to the watchtower and also like go through doors, I guess. And back in the Devil's Due run, Firewall created for the Joes, they had like wrist gauntlets that like gave them access to the data desk files, right? Which was not a toyetic thing, but maybe it was going to be, or you could pretend. Just remind me, do the Joes have a special wrist thing in the Energon universe, or is this just a watch?
Yeah, it might just be a watch, or it might be more, but I don't think they've made a particular thing about it. The classified toys, of particularly the initial wave, had these communication devices somewhere on their person that the people have colloquially called the Joe Pros. And it was kind of a bit of a visual connecting piece, just that tied them together. That basically all of the Joes would have one of these devices somewhere on their person, like on their shoulder or chest or something, or wrist or something.
You mean like GoPro, like the camera, not PROSE, not pros. This isn't for dictation because they're all writing their autobiographies. The prose that I will compose. Okay.
Yep. So there we go. That's Duke in the dark. Let's skip over to Springfield, shall we?
Yeah.
So last we saw of Cobra Commander, he was with Destro, and Destro was snooping about and saw these mysterious tubes full of green glowing liquid, but more significantly, bodies in a sort of state of experimentation. And the sort of the cliffhanger was Cobra Commander holding up his metallic hand with a glowing energy source ready to do some zapping, with him saying, "Perhaps it is best I show you firsthand."
Which was a threat, or maybe a writer having some dialogue where the subtext is threat, but it's just sort of like a visual pun. But Cobra Commander and Destro are having a problem.
And that first panel, you can actually see the hand and the glow of that power source, powered up, ready to blast in the reflection of Destro's mask. And, it's fairly direct. "Are you sure you want this fight, Commander?" And he's able to help him give like a little bit of exposition, as well as get him to back down. So
I love this page. I will never tire of the tension between Cobra Commander and Destro, and it sort of peaks in like the fourth episode of GI Joe with the mass device when Destro takes over Cobra. He actually relieves Cobra Commander of command, and then they bicker in the second miniseries, and then there's a little bit of it in Operation Dragonfire because Cobra Commander is a snake and then becomes a man again, and Larry Hama has done a lot with it. Although I want more. Don't forget that 3-parter, Destro Search and Destroy, back in issues 116, 117, 118, and it's really fun to see this here sort of at its beginning, but the stakes are so much higher now because we have never seen in the Larry Hama storyline them meet for the first time. We don't know the origin of that. It's just, Destro's the enemy weapon supplier in whatever it was issue. I'm sorry, 17 or 18 or 19, I always forget. But here, they've met just recently and they don't trust each other, but Destro needs Cobra Commander, and Cobra Commander can use Destro, but Cobra Commander is keeping so many big secrets. And I love the turn here where Destro stands up to him, right? That line you just did. I understand you like secrets. You want to hide who you really are. However, you need me. So before you attempt and fail to kill me, explain yourself. The confidence that Destro has here to stand up to this sort of pointed gun, alien laser beam hand at his head, it is a great bit of character and drama. Because I don't think when I turn the page that Cobra Commander is going to fire, but I can't wait to turn the page and see how Cobra Commander backs down a little bit or escalates it without firing, or Destro, it's great.
And also it's sort of Destro, I guess, fronting it out with confidence as well, that if he was cowering or if he was, I guess, judging Cobra Commander and saying, what is this abomination? This must end, or whatever else, perhaps there would be a different reaction from Cobra Commander. Here he's saying his reaction is to ask him to explain himself and then offer help, which is, I probably took Cobra Commander aback. It's like, can you see I'm a maniac? I need to be stopped.
No, if Destro said you have to be stopped, I think Cobra Commander would have shot.
Yeah. So he gives the exposition. He sort of tells Destro essentially what he's up to, and he says, I can tell you are trying to manipulate me, by the way. Your words may work on others, but not me. But at the same time, he's lowering his gauntlet. So these words are definitely working because evidence. Let's present evidence to the court. Destro is still alive here, so he has not been killed by Cobra Commander.
So these three guys in the tanks, there is no analog for that, right? In the classified line or in past versions of G.I. Joe, right? We don't have any kind of sort of irregular Cobra cyborg Viper, right?
I mean,
like the closest thing here is the Cobra Bat or the Toxo
you've
Viper.
got like Overkill.
Right.
Maybe that's the closest.
Okay, right. Okay. But he's just a robot. He's not a person. There's no human brain in there. He's just the Bat Commander. Except, wasn't Overkill named?
Overkill was the name of that sort of AI satellite thing that Chameleon's father invented, which was destroyed, let's call it, because I think we're going to see it again, by Destro at the end of the Destro miniseries. And Overkill was a cyborg, originally a human, in the pages of G.I. Joe from Devil's Due, where he was the Saw Viper and transformed into Overkill. So, and Overkill, I don't think has ever
that original.
I don't think has ever appeared in the Hamaverse. So,
correct. But there is a Deke episode with him. Oof, it was the season 4 premiere. I know everyone calls that Deke Series 2, season 2. I call it season 4. First episode of that second and final Deke season premiered with the Eliminator, which is what Overkill becomes when he gets upgraded. And like a lot of those late Deke episodes, it's fun and hard to watch.
I can definitely empathize with that sentiment. Hard to watch. I've attempted to watch the Operation Dragonfire a few times and not ever succeeded in that mission.
Don't forget, Dragonfire was written by Doug Booth, who had worked on the Sunbow episodes. So it is very much in keeping. And Deke, which was going to not spend a lot of money on the rest of its episodes, did spend some money on Operation Dragonfire. I do like Operation Dragonfire. It gets my full vote of approval, particularly since it picks up some threads from the movie, which like it needed to, but it also, if they hadn't done it, you'd sort of understand. Anyway, I think we're talking about the Energon Universe. There's so much menace. This Energon Universe Cobra Commander is so dangerous, and this Destro is so powerful and dangerous. And I'm very excited that in terms of being the adversary for G.I. Joe and eventually having some kind of conflict with, let's say, more than just Hound, some Cybertronians, that this version of Cobra is up to the task. Because despite how incredibly violent the Decepticons are in Daniel Warren Johnson's 24 issues of Transformers and how the humans cannot stop them at all, I do think that in the Energon universe, this version of Cobra, right, will put up an interesting fight sort of on whatever scale that takes. And what I was worried, way back in issue 2 of Transformers and issue 1 of Duke was that, and it sort of carries over to the cover of Energon Universe G.I. Joe issue number 1, where Joe and Cobras are standing on Transformer parts. I was worried that Cobra wouldn't be very powerful and therefore wouldn't be very interesting or useful, and that would sort of be like G.I. Joe versus Transformers. But Williamson, with some foundational work in those miniseries by Dan Waters and Kelly Thompson, has created a very powerful Cobra, and one way to do that is just by giving it some Cybertronian technology, but also in connecting it to Cobra Law. You have this powerful history and this whole other technology. So I liked this issue, and was there anything to talk about in the letters page?
Nothing too exciting. They do say that we're not done with BLUDD yet, so sort of promising more BLUDD before too very long, which is good news. Quite excited to see where they go with that, and I think we're all expecting sort of a cybernetically enhanced BLUDD to give him some vision back, but we shall see. Because actually, in this cover image, he's got like a cybernetic eye there, but in the actual pages of the story itself, I think he's just got a regular old eye patch, doesn't he? A sort of a matte black eye patch. But yes, yeah. It'd be interesting to see where that goes.
Did any nice folks who were listening and watching chime in, and you forgot to put up their text, or were our wonderful live audience today a bit quiet?
Slightly quiet. We had Lark Bark calling out that he would like to take a moment to acknowledge the G.I. Joe cartoon's 40th anniversary, a belated 40th anniversary for that. Tim is frowning, possibly doing the maths in his head when he thinks that anniversary would exactly be
42. Maybe Lark Bark is thinking of the regular season 1 after the miniseries in 83 and the miniseries in 84. Maybe Lark Bark is in an area where the first 2 miniseries weren't broadcast.
Okay. We had Paul Morales in the chat, who I don't think we've called out. Somar was in the chat as well. Any news for movies? So no G.I. Joe movie news recently, although there was an interesting rumour earlier in the week about Transformers, about Michael Bay coming back for a finale film, which would bring together all of the continuity established from the live-action movies, including bringing back the cast from movie number 1 with Shia LaBeouf and what's she called? Megan Fox.
Because the continuity between the Michael Bay movies works so well. I'm being facetious. It works okay. Going back 2 months, there was an announcement that Hasbro and Partners would not be making a sequel to the animated film Transformers 1. So that won't be a trilogy because that movie didn't make enough money. Did we talk about it? I saw it. It's good.
Very good. And next time, hopefully, if all goes to plan, we will be talking to Andrea Milana. But that will be fun, getting to talk to him. Hopefully all of that will pan out. Next time on Talking Joe from the Energon Universe, welcome shooter to Night Force. That is G.I. Joe issue number 12 on October the 15th. As a bit of a sort of almost one-shot standalone issue that will be, because there's guest artist Marco Federa, who will be joining for that particular issue. And just this last week, they shared the first 2 pages as preview art. So very good. Tim is recreating the sideways look to my little thumbnail with his live action comic cover.
One of my tests for comics covers is if you put it face out on a shelf and you look at it from 30 feet, does it read? And lots of great covers don't. But this Tom Riley A cover with blood bearing down on Baroness with a knife and the red background does.
So if you are new to Talking Joe, you can find us talkingjoe.co.uk. That is the website that links to all of the places we can be found, including links to patreon.com. A big thanks to Richard, Sam, Bill, Rob, Shane, Simon, Chris, Joe, Craig, Frank, Mike, D, Shane V, Infinite Entertainment, Patrick, Gary V, and new member Coldroff, who are all getting early access and ad-free to episodes, as well as exclusive content. Tim, where can people find you when you are not talking to me about bloodthirsty mercenaries who no longer are fully sighted, let's say?
Follow my partners and I. We have a YouTube channel which has smart, funny essays on television and film. That's YouTube at Atomic Abe. I have a comic book store in Massachusetts. That's Hub Comics. That is a brick and mortar comic book store, mostly graphic novels. And I write about G.I. Joe at my blog, realamericanbook.com.
Very good. So I think, Tim, that is basically it from us for now. If you've enjoyed this and you want to keep on hearing people talking about G.I. Joe, then in just 10 minutes' time, you can join Chris McLeod over at the Full Force, where he'll be giving a rundown of all of the latest news from the world of G.I. Joe toys and comics. I'm sure he'll be sharing the latest covers that were just released as well on that channel and talking through those. But all of that aside, Tim, can you just remind me of something I think very important that I've just forgotten to say?
Nobody Beats Talking Joe, an international podcast.
Laters.